Right. Okay. So, yeah. So, hey, you know, I'm Daniel Bennett. My business is DNA Business Development, and I work with ambitious businesses in the agricultural sector, helping them become more profitable by finding and securing the right customers for them. I'm based in Cheshire, but I work around the country, currently from Aberdeen down to Hampshire. Isn't Aberdeen a long way? Anyway, today we're going to explore how building trust can drive sales in agri-tech far more effectively than the amount of hype. Our goal today is to discuss relationship-driven sales strategies that can help you expand and boost your business. And we'll look at why trust is crucial, how to build it, and how to maintain it for long-term success. I do like to get people involved, so I'd like to just very briefly ask you to introduce who you are and where you're from. Hopefully Edward and Eamon, you're happy to jump on the video. Do love to see people's faces. I know mine's a bit rough and ready these days, but anyway, yeah. So Peter, tell us who you are and where you.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm from the Wirral, actually, from near Sudan, but I'm actually in the what I call the Central Danube region. That's like if you think Budapest, Belgrade. I'm connected to the farming community there, so that's my interest. I'm not actually a farmer, but I'm connected. So I'm just interested in the whole story.
Thanks, Peter. And Paul.
Yep. So, yep, Paul Lindop, no farming, no technology background, but I now do, amongst other things, digital transformation in agriculture and broader rural context. So getting multiple parties to work together to enable the closing of the great digital divide.
Great stuff.
Other soapboxes are available.
We'll give you a chance to get on your soapbox. Yeah. Edward, good to see you. Who are you? Where are you from?
Ed, from London, so not particularly farming community, but working with the Chief Strategy Officer of Agri-Tech, which is a tech startup that is trying to make an all-in-one integrated marketplace for agricultural goods using the blockchain to remove friction and costs from transacting and try and increase trust by putting transparency into supply chains.
Wow, brilliant. I'd love to learn more about that in due course. But yeah, thank you for coming. You're really welcome. Sounds really exciting what you're doing. Manish, you've jumped in there. Are you able to talk?
Yes, I am.
Who in the heck are you and where are you from?
Good morning, everyone. My name's Manish. I'm an accountant based in Leicester, and I'm very much interested in sort of connecting with everyone and see how we can all work together, because I'm very strong on technology and integrating AI into every type of business, because at the end of the day, you need to improve your bottom line and your profit margin.
Good to see you, Manish. Thanks for joining us. And Eamon, are you able to say hello? Well, maybe Eamon's gone for a cup of tea, so I'm sure he'll be back. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone. Good to see you here. And I mean, you're here today to solve a problem, and that might be a specific challenge you're facing. It might be to enhance your learning and understanding. Today, I'm going to show you some of what I do to help grow agri-businesses by blending marketing and sales. And I mean, to me, marketing and sales are after the same goal, but often they're sort of treated as entirely separate things. I don't understand that. So actually, I talk about business development, which to me is the blend of the two of them coming together to help, to help us find and secure the right customers for our businesses. And if that's something you want help with, I'll explain later how that can work. But for now, there are many facets to finding and securing customers. Sorry, you're probably I'm quite croaky for some reason. I've picked up a throat infection, so I'm getting croaker as I talk. I can sense it. So there's many facets to securing and finding customers, and today we're going to focus on building trust, not hype. So it's all about that relationship-driven sales strategy for Agri-Tech. And like I said earlier, last Agri-Tech Marketing Mastermind, we looked at sharpening your message, cutting through the noise, resonate with farmers. Now, if we truly, and I mean truly and utterly believe we can help farmers through the adoption of our Agri-Tech solutions, if we truly believe that we can do that, we have a responsibility to share that with them and to help them make a buying decision. Now, of course, that sounds a bit like selling, doesn't it? Oh, what a horrible, dirty word. I mean, British culture sort of tends to think of selling as being crass and manipulative. I mean, I see selling as serving. As long as it's in the best interest of our customers, I don't think we have the right to try selling something to the wrong person. But you do have a responsibility to help the right people, and to me that is serving, and serving is selling. So whether anyone has ever read Secrets of the Millionaire Mindset by T. Harv Eker, Harv makes the point. Harv makes the point very clearly. To be successful, you are going to have to self-promote a bit. You're going to have to get out of your own way and just get on with it. Now, I'm not disagreeing with Harv. I mean, he's far more successful than I am. However, in our journey to build trust with farmers, how much more powerful to get other people talking about you and saying the right things. So to set the scene, and apologies, some of you've heard my soapbox bit before, but I just believe it is worth reiterating because it's what drives me. Agriculture is arguably the most important industry in the world, and yet, without getting too political, it seems many of the wealthier governments around the world are deprioritizing our sector. And according to the United Nations, every day 25,000 people around the world, including more than 10,000 children, die from hunger and related causes. Some 854 million people worldwide are estimated to be undernourished, and increasing food prices may drive another 100 million into poverty and hunger. So farmers everywhere have a very important role to play, even if in the shorter term they're forced through financial pressures to accept non-food producing schemes. On my recording, somebody actually made a comment that I was slating the Agri-Tech environmental approach. Well, no, I'm not. I'm just saying that we need to produce food, but of course we need to do that sensitively towards our environment as well. And Agri-Tech has a massive part to play in this. I mean, it's unlikely a single Agri-Tech solution is going to revolutionize food production. I mean, more likely it's going to move the needle 1 degree. But I mean, Edward, what you're doing sounds absolutely fantastic, and maybe that's going to move it more than 1 degree. But multiple innovations, each shifting the needle by 1 degree, has a powerful compound effect. Innovation is really about marginal gains. Of course, the challenge here is farmers don't know what they don't know. And again, you heard me say this before, some of you. How can we firstly make them aware of innovations and help them to understand how they can best beneficially impact from them? After all, if you'd have asked a farmer in the 1880s what would help them plough more land, they would have probably said more horses. I mean, a set of horses back then could plough an acre a day. Farmers back then had no concept that 100 years later a tractor would be able to plough an acre in about 20 minutes. But going further than that, Martin Beardsell pointed out that actually, could farmers ever imagine not ploughing? Which, of course, is the way for many farmers these days, using minimum cultivation and direct drilling techniques. But for us to be able to help farmers engage and learn and adopt new tech solutions, we certainly need to build trust with them. So the concept behind the Agri-Tech Marketing Mastermind is to share ideas, get creative, explore what's worked and not worked for ourselves. This is definitely an interactive session. Assuming you're not in your pajamas, then it'd be great to have your camera on. Let's keep this informal. This is not about me doing a death by PowerPoint. Actually, there's no PowerPoint. In the group, we've got a wide range of marketing and agriculture experience and knowledge, but we're all students and we're all teachers. You could argue the true test of learning something is being able to teach it to others. So I hope we can all help each other. It's possible you might perceive you have a competitor in the room. How much more powerful is collaboration than competition? So the concept is to introduce an Agri-Tech marketing topic each session and have a short talk about it. That's been me so far, but if anybody's got a topic they really feel that they would like to share, let me know. I'll be very happy to give you the to give you the camera, so to speak. And then once we've had this sort of the sort of presentation bit, we will then open the microphones up, and let's have a chat. And are there any challenges that you're facing that maybe we as a room can help you with? You know, maybe it's just an observation you want to make. Whether you agree or disagree with me, I've got no problem. We learn from discussion. And you know, the reality is, if we listen to other people's challenges, we often learn as much from other people's challenges as we do to learning how to deal with our own. Any ideas to improve the marketing mastermind are truly welcome. After all, feedback is the breakfast of champions. So I believe in keeping to time. We'll be finished at 10:45. As I said, I will hang around afterwards if anybody wants to continue a chat. So you might be wondering what gives me the right to talk about sales and marketing and growing business in the agri sector. Again, apologies if you've heard it before. All I ever wanted to be was a farmer. At the age of 9, I fell in love and knew what I wanted to do, and ended up going to agricultural college. Lived my dream driving big green tractors with yellow wheels, until persuaded by my fiance that farming wasn't going to provide the lifestyle expected of me. And so very naively, based on her skills as a graphic designer, we set up a design and marketing agency. Hey, go figure, how does a farmer go to that? So I very quickly had to learn about building a business, engaging with customers, and sales and marketing and business development, and did that for a long time, up until 2016, when she decided not to be married to me any longer. So I actually decided it was time to take a little break, and I went off and worked on a farm in the Isle of Man. I then went to New Zealand as an agricultural spraying contractor, and returning from there, remembering how bloody cold and wet it here is in the UK in the winter, and even in the summer sometimes, I realized I could blend my business experience with my passion for farming and food production. So that's what I've been now doing for quite a few years, and I get a real buzz out of helping the farming community do things better. So in my time as in design and marketing, we used to work with some quite technical type businesses, things like the design and manufacture of bend restrictors for oil rig transportation. If you think about your kettle flex and the bit of the rubber that stops the flex from bending too much, well, when you put a steel rope on an oil rig, they also need that sort of bend restrictor, but it's just quite a bit bigger. I also, one of my clients worked with for 19 years, a company called James Crop, who made coloured papers and boards. Now, to work with a client for 19 years, trust had to be right at the heart of that relationship. And you know, I was delighted to actually, I'm very proud to be able to say, you know, that relationship was great. And so we're going to be talking about trust. And Agri-Tech is booming with innovations transforming how we farm and manage resources, from precision farming to blockchain in supply chains. I really do want to learn more about it. I mean, the possibilities are endless. However, with rapid advancements, trust has become more critical than ever. Farmers are inundated with new technologies, each promising the moon, snake oil even, you know. So the challenge, determining which one truly adds value. This uncertainty makes trust a key factor in that decision-making process. I mean, without trust, even the most groundbreaking technology can fall flat. Farmers need to trust that your product will deliver on its promise and integrate seamlessly into their operation. So a prerequisite of building trust is knowing and understanding your audience. And we've got to understand their specific needs, their challenges, the goals of farmers. Tailor your approach to address their unique circumstances. Remember, what works for one farmer may not work for another. Tailor your sales strategy to individual farmers. Personalization shows that you value them as unique customers, not just as a sales target. Customized solutions are more likely to meet their specific needs. Excuse me, let me have a couple of Agri-Tech marketing masterminds ago. We looked at the questions we should ask. I mean, asking a farmer what they want is unlikely to elicit much information. Effective sales are not about talking, they're about listening. Engage in conversations with your customers, understand their pain points and feedback. Use this information to improve your product and services. To truly understand, we need to be asking questions like, what do you hate the most? What costs most money? Where is the most waste? What is the hardest task? And at risk of sounding patronizing, be transparent about what your technology can and cannot do. Honesty builds that credibility. If there are limitations or you're on a learning curve, share that. Be open. Farmers are the best bullshit detectors there are. And once they earmark you as a bullshitter, that's the end of a trusting relationship. And before we can sell even the most fantastic tech solution, we have to have that personal trust, don't we? Farmers are buying people first. We ought to talk about values. And when I say values, I mean about our personal values. What do you hold most dearly? What drives you? To learn what someone's values are, we can ask the question, what's most important to you? Typically, we will hear things like honesty and integrity. Now, over the last 30 years or so, I've been asking that question. As yet, no one's ever said to me lies and dishonesty. So I think we sort of have to accept that, most people's values are honesty and integrity. However, I mean, there are people out there who really don't give a shit. However, these people out there who don't give a shit, when our values don't align, it's probably just easier to move on, because you're never going to establish that trust. We can't please everybody, can we? So to build trust, showcase real life examples of your technology in action. Remember, facts tell, stories sell. So let's use case studies and testimonials from other farmers. They can be incredibly persuasive. I mean, after all, we know farmers are nosy buggers, don't we? They're always interested in what their neighbours are doing. They're always sort of peeking over the hedge, of course. So the case stories and case studies and stories should provide tangible proof of your technology benefits. So we want to build a community. Let's create a community around your business. Whether that's a forum, a social media group, regular meetups. Let's be honest, what I've created here, the Agri-Tech Marketing Mastermind, is all about building a community. This is about fostering a sense of community. It can help build those strong, lasting relationships with your customers. It's also great for positioning. I mean, networking is a buzzword. I don't know how many of you, Manish, I know you go out networking. I know that's how you drive a lot of your business. But if you're going to go networking, don't just be in the room, be part of the room. Whether any of you have attended events in the dairy sector, for example, Agri-Tech, you'll have come across ADF Milking, who are driving cow teat health. If you don't know about dairy, did you know there's such a thing as cow teat health? Well, it makes sense, because that's where the milk comes out of. And their founder and chairman, James Duke, his exhibiting strategy is fairly simple. He believes his crowd, he needs to get as many people on his stand as possible, because by doing that, it draws other people in. And so his decision is quite simple: get as many people on the stand as you possibly can, even if they're not actually going to be a decision maker. That's okay. He's happy with that. A lot of them, of course, will be influencers, and we must remember influencers are really important in that decision-making process. The farm owner might make the decision for a piece of equipment, but he will be influenced by the people actually milking his cows, and feeding and looking after them. So the strategy and that crowd, in effect, endorses ADF's position. If you steer a crowd around something, it makes you interested. It gives them that credibility. Now, that might not be a strategy for everyone. That's fine. We've got to find out what works best for us. So we can also use things like hands-on experiences. They can be very convincing. How about hosting demonstrations and workshops where farmers can see and experience your technology firsthand? I mean, almost invariably, that creates conversation about your business, about your product, about you. And it gives you a great opportunity to listen and learn. The practical exposure helps in building trust. And it's amazing what a farmer will do for a free bacon sandwich or a pie and a pint. I mean, it really can be as simple as that. I'm sure most of you might have been to such events. I mean, which ones do you remember most, and why? It doesn't matter how brilliant your solution is. It doesn't matter how much money you've lavished on laying on hospitality. Things like parking difficulties and uninterested agency staff are often going to be remembered longer than what you're trying to get the farmers to remember. So if you're going to do these things, make sure you get the details right. As we've said before, how you do anything is how you do everything. So consistency is key. It's not just about ensuring your technology consistently performs as promised. It's the backup. It's being there when you're needed. I mean, remember, farming isn't a 9 till 5 job. What support do you provide out of those hours? Keep your farming customers informed with regular updates. Excuse me. Keep them informed about updates and improvements based on feedback from other users. How are you maintaining high standards? What are you doing to drive innovation? What about those new features? What about those issues? If you've actually come across an issue on your solution, is it not better to actually share that proactively, or because actually going and saying, look, we've got an issue here, we're going to work on it, rather than letting them find out for themselves and you sort of trying to brush it under the carpet? That's far more, being open and upfront is far more likely to engender that trust than ignoring problems. And encourage your customers to provide feedback and act on it. Show them that their opinions really do matter and that you are dedicated to improving that experience. Don't do it superficially. I mean, how many times have you been eating at a restaurant and perhaps your food's not that great? And the waiter comes and asks if everything's okay. And in your mind, you're thinking, nah, it's not good. But you say, yeah, everything's fine. Go on, who's done that? I'm sure we've all done that at times. But the reality is we've done that because we don't want to cause a scene, or we just can't be bothered, and we just want to get on with our food. But we need to almost seek out complaints, because that gives us the opportunity to readdress them, and we get to learn. And invariably, by dealing with a complaint in the right way, that improves our relationship. So yeah, go looking for complaints. If you don't find any, you're doing very well, but there's always something you can improve. And then let's celebrate success. When your customer achieves some great results, give them the credit. Another cliche: to get the credit, give the credit. Whether it's a yield increase or cost saving, thank your customer for what they've done. And then share these stories and acknowledge the effort that farmers made to actually make this happen. And of course, what you're doing is you're placing your solution as something credible and being part of that improvement. It really does also reinforce the value of your relationship. Now, I mean, trust doesn't end with the sale. We've got to offer that ongoing support to ensure customers are getting the most out of your product. Regular check-ins, updates, training sessions can make a significant difference. So because my throat's sort of like giving way, I'm sort of going to bring that sort of the talk to the end in a second. So remember, in Agri-Tech, building trust is not just about making a sale. It's about creating long-term, mutually beneficial relationships. I mean, by focusing on trust rather than hype, you can drive sustainable growth and success in your business. My dad, who's at 91 this year, worked for Mars Confectionery for 25 years. He wasn't a farmer. Mars required all of its employees to read How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I don't know if any of you have come across it. I mean, as a 10-year-old, I found this book on the shelf at home, and I was intrigued, maybe because I didn't have any friends. And actually, I read it. Now, admittedly, the memory is it's quite American, and it uses quite an old way with words, but it's still got to be one of the best texts around that we can learn from about relationship building. Now, I mean, Mars is a hugely successful business with an amazing reputation for looking after its employees. And and that's all about the trust. And just as my dad tells me, my dad's 91, he took early retirement at 51. And he says, Dan, I worked for Mars for 25 years and they've been paying me a pension for 40 years now. Hey, I mean, who wouldn't like to be in that situation? But that's all about the relationship, isn't it? You look after your people and your people look after you and your business. So if it's of help to you, I'm happy to offer a session on Zoom, whether that's to take a look at your sales strategies and relationship building, or any other aspects of marketing, finding and securing your customers. Chi, sorry, I didn't introduce Chi. I always forget to introduce Chi. Chi is going to put a calendar link in the chat. So, if you want to have a catch up, just find a date in the diary that suits you, and we can have that conversation. No expectation. I whether I help as a result that or not, that doesn't matter. But we can explore where you are and your challenges. So we are suppliers to the most important industry in the world, farming. We have a responsibility to really understand farmers and provide them with workable solutions to help them produce food and run profitable businesses. So that brings me to the end of my little bit. So what I'd like to do is, if those of you who've attended before know that I will pick on you, because that's how I am. But it's all done very in the friendliest way. So yeah, Paul, any thoughts on trust? I mean, you're trying to bring together communities, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it always bears to reminding ourselves that the vast majority of the target market, if we just restrict it to agriculture, are micro businesses. And they're busy doing what they do. There's a scarily small percentage of them are actually businesses in the truest sense. They don't see themselves, or they don't recognize that they are a business. Therefore, the fundamentals of what gets measured gets managed. It's more about muscle memory. If you go out, you're doing what your body and your gut tells you to do a lot of the time, rather than some technology. Now, that's not to say there isn't a good marketplace out there, but it tends to be that small percentage, big arable farmers. They like agri-tech, they like technology, they're early innovators, that's why they're big. There's a causation loop in there somewhere. And they're the first market that you go to, whether it's blockchain or whatever. That's where you're repeatedly going back to, whereas the other 95% of the marketplace is so head down, bum up, pardon my French. They don't have the capacity to think about it. So they look to other parties to trust. So there are aggregators, points of aggregation of farmer trust that you need to be conscious of, and it's as much engaging directly with the farmers as it is with them. So it's vets, agronomists, other equipment manufacturers who you can influence to incorporate your product and things like that. So you have to remember that 95% of your market doesn't have the time to shake your hand. It might be tempted out of the dark with a bacon butty, I would, but that's the thing is, if you just focus on the market that responds to your LinkedIn post, you're fighting in the same field as every other ag tech.
Absolutely.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, thanks, Paul. What did you say? Face up, bum down? Was that your
heads up, bum down, head down, bum up? Where somebody's going to park a bicycle, yeah.
And then you apologise for your French, but I think my French is worse than yours. So so Eamon has had to apologise. He's listening in, but he can't actually connect and he can't talk. So yeah, Edwards. I hope I'm not going to be rude here, but actually the first person who's attended the Agri-Tech Marketing Mastermind with a tie on.
Actually, I'm sorry my jacket isn't on. It's just a bit warm here. We are to trust. Thank you very much for this this very informative session so far. I'm speaking to a lot of the issues that we're grappling with in our business. And trust is absolutely essential to it. And a large part of our white paper is dedicated to underpinning that trust. We've got Web3 decentralized finance enthusiasts on one end of it, who are sort of ranging the scale of dressing up as gorillas and minting NFTs and having meme coins and things like that, dogs with hats and doges. And then you've got the sort of very conservative market, quite opaque, very fractional market of agricultural trade, which has got it's a disproportionately large amount of bad actors exploiting that when it comes to things like food fraud. And tracking through the provenance, so they're already wading through amounts of paperwork and trying to bridge the gap between those two communities, of which there is really very little overlap. Has been quite an experience, and so we focus on trust in a variety of ways. We're being trusted with trade sensitive data. We're trusted with financial data and personal data, and most of all with money. But farmers are often asked to take on the risk and capital investment up front. So I suppose we're going in with it when adopting new technologies, which is why it's often quite hard to get farmers to adopt new technologies, that we are building our products so that they see the financial value immediately. So all they have to do is sign up and we'll help them do that. And then the transactions will be faster, cheaper, more reliable, and they'll be able to demonstrate the credentials of their crop. And if they can't do that, then we can help them demonstrate the credentials of their crop, to therefore get a premium and access to markets. But I suppose we get the benefit when you're crossing complex jurisdictions. And so trust between jurisdictions is also very important.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose the one thing I hear farmers talking about trust. I mean, us techies. I'm not that particularly techie. I'm a marketing guy, but we do love to talk about data, don't we? And farmers, you start talking data to farmers, and they start to, the heckles go up, and they goes down. There's a perception that us businesses are going to use that data against them rather than for them.
Yes.
For example, within the milking industry. So I'm not a specialist in dairy. It just happens to have been a few mentions of dairy today, doesn't it? But the supermarkets, for example, Tesco, are saying to their farmers, provide us your data. We want to see what's going on. And the dairy farmers thinking all Tesco's is going to do is use that data to beat me up and make me drop my price. And and that's the simple reality. They've been treated poorly in the past. They've been, once bitten, twice shy. So actually, how do we take them on the journey to actually show that actually this data is there, can be their benefit as much as anybody else's? They share in the reward of that efficiency improvement.
One of the projects we're looking at the moment is in Ghana that speaks exactly to that. They introduced a thing called the living income differential, which meant that every Ghanaian farmer was given an extra $400 per ton of cocoa that they produced. But the exporters, the aggregators, and the middlemen squeezed that 400 and took it off other parts of the supply chain. So the farmers ended up in the very same position. Haven't been able to reinvest in their crops, and now the cocoa trees have reached the end of their useful life, and the harvest has fallen off a cliff. So I don't know whether you've seen that the price of cocoa has gone from $3,000 a ton to $10,000 a ton this year alone, and is unlikely to recover anytime soon. And so what we're going to try and do is that you can prove whether that living income differential is being paid to the farmer, and that's held in an immutable ledger on the blockchain. And you can say to the government or to Lynn, to whoever's buying in Switzerland, that it doesn't cross the rail of the ship unless you can show that that money has gone into that farmer's wallet or account, whether in the sort of USDC stablecoin equivalent. It also allows you to collect taxation for the Ghanaian government of those farmers in US dollars rather than going in and out of SEPI. So you've got full transparency that removes corruption as well. So that's vision.
Thank you so much for your insight. It's very helpful, very valuable. I'm just going to try. Wayne, are you there? Can you hear us? You sort of jumped in sort of part way through. I have a habit of picking on people, but if you're not there, Wayne, Manish, you sort of talked about how you're trying to use AI in your business. And does AI engender trust, or does it cause more problems?
I think there's two things you can talk about: trust and micro businesses. First of all, with AI, you sort of trust the data, but how you interpret it. I think you made a good point about Tesco sort of beating down the price, and that's just the way the system is. But what my question is, do you know the NFU in the UK and perhaps in Ghana, where are they speaking for the small people. I think they're sort of not engaging to make sure that the micro businesses are sort of competing against each other rather than working together. So I think a major failing is not the government, but groups like the NFU are not sort of standing for their members or their non-members on this one.
Yeah,
it won't go forward, no matter how much AI you put in, how much blockchain you put in. But at the end of the day, if the farmer's just earning 10 pence or 5 pence, it doesn't really make a difference to him. He's not worried about the dressing. He wants to find out what the actual bottom line is for him.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And you know, things like the NFU and the NFU do some good things, but there's a lot of unsettlement currently around them. In that, you know, a lot of the smaller farmers are saying that their voice isn't being heard. The NFU have got themselves into a slightly tricky situation where quite a lot of their funding is coming from the supermarkets, you know, Morrison's and whatever, who are paying sort of fairly chunky money into NFU. You know, so who's the NFU listening to? Is it listening to, in effect, their corporate partners, or is it listening to their members? Very difficult situation. I don't know if you're ever brave enough and you really want to sort of hear what's going on in the farming world, go and check out thefarmingforum.co.uk.
Okay.
You're a brave man to actually try and ask questions there, because I mean, it really typifies how farmers feel that they're being treated, and if they find out you're not a farmer, it's like they've got suspicion. You know, what are they after? They're after something. You know, but in effect, we've allowed farmers to get into this mindset. And it's people like the NFU who really should be fighting their corner. And I suppose we can't mention Farmers Trust without talking about Red Tractor. I hope most of you are familiar with Red Tractor. You know, when you go into the supermarket, there's the little logo with the little Union Jack and the Red Tractor on it. And originally that was implemented to help differentiate high quality British produce. And it was sold on the basis that farmers could expect to you know, be paid a premium. The reality is farmers see it as a control mechanism. And actually I heard someone say the other day that on their Red Tractor audit they got marked down because there was a cobble missing in a pavement, you know, a paving setup. And as they said, well, okay, ideally, if I would replace that cobble, and I will when I've got time, but does it really affect how the quality of the milk I produce? And so again, you know, the Red Tractor, who are partly owned by the NFU, have really broken the trust they had with farmers, and yet, you know, the whole idea of building a powerful brand around fantastically produced British produce is fundamentally brilliant, but you can't do it without trust, can you? Peter, your turn.
Hi, yeah. Just the issue of this micro business and people who are not even aware they're doing business. So I think that's what I'm in that world. I'm interacting with people in this world. So I'm just sort of listening in, really, to see, you know, what can be done to help these people, and especially for, you know, for some technology that, you know, for small scale farmers that has application, and creating, as you say, how can people who are not actually farmers, you know, interact you know, smoothly and effectively with those who aren't. So it's great.
You're working in education.
Yeah, basically I'm in education, but you know, because I work with farming people, I'm just trying to see, and there's obviously a massive opportunity with technology, but they are skeptical, they are conservative, you know. So you know, that's it's just really both what the product is you're offering to them, and what you're talking about mostly is about how to actually deal with them in this thing. So yeah, I'm listening in.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Peter. Well, look, I mean, time's marched on. Doesn't it fly when we're having fun? Ben, thanks for joining in. You were a little bit on the late side, but there will be a recording of the session on YouTube shortly. And actually, we're building a library of the recordings on YouTube, so you can refer back to them if you want to, you know, consider the other subjects we've been talking about. So look, I really appreciate your contribution. I hope you got some value out of that. This is, I think, the 5th or 6th session we've run now. Numbers wise, we've gone from 8, 7, 8, 15 to 8 to today. So, you know, bit by bit, we're building a community, and certainly this is not just about me. This is about, you know, everybody and how we can help each other. And I'm not on that basis. If there's anybody you want to be connected up with on the call, if you give me a shout, I will check that the other person is happy for me to share their details. But you know, if you want connections, I'm more than happy to facilitate that. So the next agricultural, sorry, I can't even talk now. My voice is really good. The next Agri-Tech Marketing Mastermind is on the 4th of July. I don't think there's anything else going on important that day, so I'm sure, you know, hopefully see you all there. It'll be at 10 a.m. The subject next time is the power of storytelling. So engaging farmers with compelling agri-tech narratives. I'm sure you've heard me say a few times, facts tell, stories sell. And I guess that's what we're going to be dealing with. If you want to book a one-to-one call with me, please use the link in the calendar, and we can have a deeper conversation about growing your business by finding and securing customers. Thank you for joining in. Like I said, I'm going to hang around for a short while if anyone wants to ask any further questions. It's 10:44. I've got another 20 seconds. No, thank you for joining in. It's time to say goodbye. Remember, hope is not a strategy, and